Debunk This, a show for debunkers to do their thing, as well as for the choir to have a reference point. So many people find it hard to believe that we're being poisoned, tested on, that plans are documented to control and contain us, as well as kill us by the powers that be. That indeed conspiracies exist, and not everyone who speaks of this is a nut job, or you gotta call yourself a nut job, because everybody believes in conspiracy theories. Everybody has one, whether you're talking about OJ, whether you're talking about 9/11. No matter what side of the fence on, you are a conspiracy theorist. Debunk that, by the way. Now, this show isn't about why they do what they do. It's about the fact that it has and is being done. Now, this show won't be covering hours worth of evidence. We will focus on an element or two and keep it simple and to the point. Now, all links are going to be provided for this, from declassified documentation to news articles. Now, there are many people who like to comment, and I know you've seen them. You might even be one of these people. That is ridiculous to think that the U.S. government will poison, test, or even kill its own citizens. I mean, they say that you're a conspiracy nut. Or they ask, why would the government do that to its own people? And to those people, I have to say, to understand why, one must understand how and if they're even doing it. Now, through investigation and research, the how and if can be found in declassified material, documentation, appending evidence to the why. Now let's get on into this, and let's start by taking a look at 64 years of declassified material dating from 1931 to 1995. Now, using any search engine out there that you want to use, type in Human Experimentation, Government Experimentation, and you'll get a bunch of sites out there that have the same list that's going from 1931 to 1995. Now, on all of these lists, I went through so many sites that have the same list, but they don't tell where they got this information from. And I kind of got to say that I think that they just got it off another website and then put it on theirs, instead of resourcing this stuff, looking it up and seeing where this information came from. I know it makes it hard to do, but that's just how it is. So what I did was I went through the list, and I just kind of went through and I picked a bunch of ones to cover, and then I researched it. So let's start with the 1931. 1931, Dr. Cornelius Rose, under the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Investigation, infects human subjects with cancer cells. Now, this cat later goes on to establish the U.S. Army Biological Warfare facilities in Maryland, Utah, and Panama. And he is named to the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission. Now, while there, he begins a series of radiation exposure experiments on American soldiers and civilian hospital patients. 1932, the Tuskegee syphilis study begins. 200 black men diagnosed with syphilis are never told of their illness, are denied treatment, and instead are used as human guinea pigs in order to follow the progression and symptoms of the disease. They subsequently die from syphilis, and their families are never told that they could have been treated. 1938, a little psychological experimentation here. The War of the Worlds aired on October 30th over CBS Radio with 6 million listeners. And they presented with a series of simulated news bulletins which suggested that an actual Martian invasion was in progress. Now, some listeners heard only a portion of the broadcast. And in the atmosphere of tensions and anxiety leading to World War II, took it to be a real news broadcast. Now, newspapers reported that panic ensued. People were fleeing the areas. Others was thinking they were smelling poison gas, and so on and so on. Now, this was directed and narrated by Orson Welles. The episode was an adaptation of H.G. Wells' novel, The War of the Worlds. Now, Wells' adaptation was one of the Radio Project's first studies. Now, the Radio Project was a social research project funded by Rockefeller Foundation to look into the effects of mass media on society. 1940, 400 prisoners in Chicago were infected with malaria in order to study the effects of new and experimental drugs to combat the disease. Nazi doctors later on the trial in Nuremberg cite this American study to defend their own actions during the Holocaust. 1942, Chemical Warfare Services began mustard gas experiments on approximately 4,000 servicemen. The experiments continued until 1945 and made use of the Seventh-day Adventists who chose to become human guinea pigs rather than serve on active duty. In 1969, Dr. Robert McMahon of the Department of Defense requests from Congress $10 million to develop, within 5 to 10 years, a synthetic biological agent to which no natural immunity exists. The very next year, 1970, funding for the synthetic biological agent is obtained under H.R. 15090. The project, under the supervision of the CIA, is carried out by the Special Operations Divisions at Fort Detrick, the Army's top secret biological weapons facility. Speculation is raised that molecular biological techniques are used to produce AIDS-like retroviruses. In 1990, more than 1,500 6-month-old black and Hispanic babies in Los Angeles are given an experimental measles vaccine that has never been licensed for use in the United States. CDC later admits their parents were never informed that the vaccine being injected into their children was experimental. In 1995, Dr. Garth Nicholson uncovers evidence that the biological agents used during the Gulf War had been manufactured in Houston, Texas, and tested on prisoners at the Texas Department of Corrections. Now that the if and the how is concluded, in our exploration of just these, the why comes into focus. Now, although we can reach different whys, we can agree that the if and the how is factual. Now, why is something that we have to work on, but we're never going to reach it definitively unless we continue to explore the if and the how. So, to all the people out there that ask, why would the government do that to its own people? I have to answer, I'm not sure why, but they do. Now, debunk that. This is all the time for Debunk This. I'm ChangeDaChannel. Catch me next time when we'll go over another controversial issue that you debunkers won't want to debunk, and I wish you could, but you're not going to be too, because as I do this show, I get better and better with getting my research done and backing it up with this straight government documentations. But I do hope that somebody can say something that it's fake or something, man, and this isn't really going on. Anyhow, I'm ChangeDaChannel. Catch you next time, and I'm out.